Today was the first day I got to dress in that green.
How did it feel to put on that green for the first time?
Felt good.
We are back in the place to be together. That's what it's all about. Let me start by saying Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. If I have a mother that listens, Happy Mother's Day to you. Turns out I have 97% male audience, so I don't know how many of the 3% of the females that I have are mothers. It's probably 4 of you out there. Happy Mother's Day to all 4 of you. I couldn't be happier for you. What a great day Mother's Day is, isn't it? They do it on a Sunday. That's good. That's good. But welcome to episode 70 of GreenBean's Jets Pod. And I couldn't be happier to be here with you. Speaking of Mother's Day, I got my wife, who's not my mother, but there's a weird, there's a conundrum. She's not my mother. So my kids are supposed to get something for her. But who's in charge of that? Kids aren't going to do that. So that's me. So if they don't get her something, I'm in trouble. You know how that goes. So we got flowers. And you know what I learned? And I'm not happy about it, quite frankly. I bought flowers. And they looked purple. Nice. Purple's a good color. It's, you know, it's bright. And while we're doing the thing, from the thing to the thing, you know, with the food and the water and all that stuff in it, I learned. I'm like, how are these stems purple? That's weird. Like, I don't know. It's purple stems? And I didn't notice that because they were all bundled up nicely with the color coming out the top. And I look at the stem and I'm thinking, this doesn't look right. It looks spray painted. So I take my little finger and I rub real hard, and guess what happened? The color came off. There's green under there. They are spray painting flowers out there. What is this? So I say to my wife, these are spray paint. I can't believe it. I never would have bought them. And she said to me, oh yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do? I asked somebody else, do you believe this spray painted flowers? Oh yeah, they do that all the time. First of all, who's they? Second of all, when did this start? And third of all, are we okay with this? Spray painting the color on flowers? What? Have you ever heard the term, don't gild the lily? You ever hear what that is? You know that term? Don't gild the lily. They're saying a flower is beautiful enough. A lily is beautiful enough on its own. You don't need to gold plate it. The gold doesn't make it any more beautiful. There's no need to gild the lily. Flowers are the world's most beautiful thing. It's what, you know what I mean? It's like, it's all natural. And I'm sorry, man, but I can't handle this. Who made this decision to spray paint? I can't believe it. And that it's, everybody knows. Did you know? I didn't know. Now, I understand when you go buy a blue rose or whatever, which I don't approve of, but you know, you want to do a thing that needs blue. Okay. I understand that there's dyes and I get it. This is spray paint, and not even well. I think I put a picture in there for you. So anyway, my Mother's Day is tainted somewhat by the spray painting of flowers. I don't know, man. Like, you know, look, I can deal with lots of stuff. There's all sorts of atrocities in the world. I have a very level head a lot of the time. I get mad, but I level off. This one, I don't know what it is. It's really, it drove a spike. I can't take it. I need to talk to somebody. Who do I talk to in charge of spray painting flowers? I don't know. Who's the guy? Shh. Is it a guy? Is it a machine? I don't know. Anyway, I hope you got some real flowers that were pretty enough that they didn't need to be grabbed by some goon and a can of Krylon and then defaced. That's how I see it. Anyway, guys, this is episode 70 of GreenBean's Jets Pod, where we will talk more about flowers today, it seems, than anything Jets. But guys, before we get into it, I have the news of the week. Lots of fun stuff this week. This is a fun week. We're going to get into all of those details. We're also going to get into the intelligent gripe. I got one today, and it's not flower oriented. It's really, I swear, it's about football and the Jets and these morons that are out there. We're going to gripe intelligently about this stuff. We're going to get into all that. Before we do, I just want to take a brief moment and remind you of a couple things. One is, if you're enjoying yourself here, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. That helps YouTube recognize us out here in the Jets content universe. And if you really want to be nice, get involved, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you hit the bell notification button right next to that, you will be notified every time I go live or release something new. And it really makes us all part of the same community, and it's fun. And that's all you have to do. It's 3 little clicks and you're done. If you want even more access, involvement, you can join my little private group called the Beanbaggers by clicking on that link that says Patreon in the top of the description. And you can pick your tier. There's all different benefits associated with each tier. And you come on in. We have such a good time. We do classic games. We do positional breakdowns. We do all sorts of fun stuff in there. It's really growing into a group of friends, man. It's like our community, the inner circle. So if you want to get in on that, just click the link and come on in. It's a blast. So there you go. Guys, let's get into this whole thing. The rookies are here. The rookies are here. Isn't that great? Just a week ago, a little over a week ago, we had no idea who we were going to have. We were arguing. People didn't want this. People thought that was the position. I didn't think we were going to grab a cornerback in the whole draft. We used our first pick, a top 5 pick on a cornerback. You know, it happens. It's weird. The draft is the strangest thing because, as we know, we call it rumor season. We call it smokescreen season. I've given you guys little keys to identify if the person you're reading or listening to know a damn thing. There are key words you can use, and we talked all about that, and it's so clear when they're saying stuff and they have no idea what they're really talking about, or they have no source. They use specific terms. So hopefully that was able to help a lot of us. It seemed like a lot of us got our hair all tangled up anyway. We get all upset and everything, but we go through this whole process, and then the draft happens. We pick these players. A lot of the time in our history, this would be the week where we're all pissed off and dejected because our team organization has no idea what they're doing. Do you know how many drafts I've gotten excited for, did my research, said, oh yeah, if we get 2 of these guys, I'm going to be happy. And we get nothing. We go through the whole draft. Sometimes we have 7 picks, 3 picks, 10 picks. And dude, like the Idzik 12. Now, I liked 1 or 2 of those players. Jace Amaro being at the top. I'm really surprised that his career crashed and burned like it did. But that whole damn draft, I was on Jetnation's chat. We used to do a live chat on Jetnation. And I remember sitting there through that whole draft, other than Jace Amaro, thinking, what the hell is going on? What? Why? That's what I did the whole draft. So some years, this week that we're feeling all light and fluffy this week, there were numerous years, most, that this week was filled with complete confusion. We had no idea. Calvin Pryor? It's the strongest wide receiver class in the history of the NFL. Why are we taking this safety? That kind of stuff. Blake Cashman? Really? So we would do all that. So this week, it just so happens that we're happy. Most of us. We're still finding a way. Some of us, man, There are Jets fans. I firmly believe it's virtually impossible for them to be happy. I don't know. I feel for you. I'm with you. I want you. You know what I mean? I'll help if you need a hand. But there are some, they can't do it. I wonder when we start winning, if it's going to be a situation where they can finally break through and go, yeah, like I'm happy. I wonder. What we'll hear at the end of it is, I waited 40 years to win like that on a penalty. Like that's the way it's going to be something. You know it is. Because there are people out there that look at this draft where I'm going to go through and show you why it's even better than you thought it was. There are people out there that look at this draft and think, we suck. Very few. Little tiny bit. Un poquito. There's only a little bit. But they're out there. And I feel for you guys, man. Now, the large consensus, the larger group of us realize, even though I didn't get the player I wanted, or the position, it wasn't like in the order that I wanted it. When you look at the players that we brought in, dude, we did a good job. Did a good job. So we now know who our guys are. We did the undrafted free agent thing. Let me tell you, I could complain for a month about it. I can. I didn't get one of my UDFAs. So I can do it. But they're all here. They're all at One Jets Drive. They're all over the place. They're running around. They're doing the thing. So we got all this going on. The guys are in the house. They're wearing green and white. They're picking their numbers. And they're here. So for all the little goody gumdrops of this week, let's get into the news of the week. So the first and biggest and most important thing is not even rookie minicamp. It's a different thing than we're used to seeing right around now. And that is our top pick. Mr. Sauce Gardner himself is already inked. Signed his contract. Can you believe it? $38.7 million fully guaranteed with a $25.3 million signing bonus. My son said to me when I told him the numbers, he goes, wow, that's like life-changing. I said, yeah, yeah, it is. Now look, I fancy myself a good earner. I don't think I'm ever going to compile that number. You know, it just is. Yeah, I'd say it's life-changing. $25.3 million signing bonus. At the time of recording this, Sauce Gardner is one of 6 first-round picks signed. Now, when you look at that against last year, Zach Wilson was the last person to resign, the last rookie. Now, we know why. If you would have listened to the beat back then, it's because Zach is a selfish POS and the Jets are slapdick and don't know what they're doing, right? That's what it is. They're never going to get it done. This is just the Jets. And Zach Wilson, we told you, he was a selfish guy. That's what was going on. That was the storylines, if you remember. Now we know, if you look at the agency that Zach Wilson has, every single first-round pick that they've had has held out. You got to keep an eye on those agencies. And that's why it's so important, guys, to not just look at the headline and create feelings, right? You got to just look. We look a little bit. You find out there is a thread here. There's a consistency here. There's an underlying reason. But all that aside, Sauce Gardner signed. That makes me feel pretty good because it's, again, not the norm for us. Now, to be fair and to be as, completely thorough as we can here, we still have 2 more. So who knows? Maybe Jermaine Johnson is a holdout. We don't know. We don't know, but it's a good start, and that makes me happy. When Joe Douglas picks up the phone and calls somebody, Swaggy Sauce.
Swaggy Sauce, Gardner.
You know you got to get that guy signed. Let's not play any games, right? So Sauce Gardner, interestingly enough, was interviewed, and he said some cool things. Number one, he said he's already enjoying being a Jet, which, I mean, what else is he going to say, right? But he didn't have to say it, and it's nice to hear it. When you look at the energy about the Jets, whether it's the rookies, whether it's the second-year softs making that little message that video message for the Rooks coming, there's a different vibe, man. And it's just good to see. It's good to see. Just think about this. As recently as 3 years ago, 3 years, this period of time was so bad that our head coach left the draft room, the war room, left, didn't call the players, didn't have an introductory player press conference, nothing, because McCagnon was about to be fired. Just right around now, actually. So just 3 years ago, that's what was going on. So don't take this lightly. Do not take it for granted. Okay? We have come a long way. Number one, our head coach stayed in the room. Not only did he stay in the room, he's high-fiving, hugging, they're cheering, everything's going nuts. He's going, sauce! He's doing all that kind of stuff. There's high-fiving everywhere. There's all that stuff going on. We're getting guys signed right out of the gate. You got last year's rookie class making videos to this year's rookie class. Dude, it's different. It's totally different around the New York Jets. And again, don't take it for granted. Don't forget. Don't forget where we came from. You have to look at things for their individual aspects. You have to consider that stuff, right? So when you look at our team and what's going on around here, don't forget where we came from. We are not the Steelers. We are not the Raiders. We are not the Ravens. We're not any of these teams. Every step that we take, the fact that we were 4 wins last year, everybody telling us our quarterback sucks, and just on and on and on, all the injuries, and we're this positive, it's a testament to the character aspect of where our focus has been. Yes, you want talent, all those things. The character piece, that's what we're seeing. So Sauce Gardner says, I'm enjoying being a Jet, but the other thing he said was, Darrelle Revis was somebody that he enjoyed watching as a kid. And in a very humorous way, I thought this was good. He said, well, I haven't been able to meet him yet. It's on my bucket list, but we got people working on that right now. Isn't that great? And he also said that he hopes to be looked at like Revis is for this organization at the end of his career. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. Sauce might be here for 2 years. We don't know. But it's good to see where his sights are. You know, Sauce Gardner is one of those guys that he's not just, he doesn't want to just be, he's not Vernon Golston. He's not, he wants to be thought of like Darrelle Revis. And that's great. It's one of the things that they liked about him. And, look, Sauce Gardner's interview had some funny moments and all that, but it's not the interview we're going to focus on today. We're going to do that a little bit later. But there's one interview. JJ's was good. Well, don't call him JJ, by the way. It's not his nickname. Okay, we'll get to that too. But Wilson's was good. But there's another one. There's another interview that was better. And we'll talk about that. So, the other big thing coming out of rookie minicamp is what? The numbers. I have not seen so many people lose their minds over such an insignificant thing in a long time. It's nice to see. And we're consistent, right? So let me just say this about the rookie numbers. Number one, this is minicamp numbers. Relax. We have no idea which numbers are going to stick, if any. Every single one of them might change their number. We don't know. But let's take a look for a second, because people are bent out of shape. Now let's talk about Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner gets number 20. Now, number 20 for the past few years has been who? Marcus May, right? Marcus May looked good wearing 20. 20 is a good number for a defensive back. Well, we don't like it on Sauce. You want to know why we don't like it on Sauce? Because he's so thin. Just looks too big. We want him to have a single digit, maybe even number 1. Just boop, a little stick of butter down his chest, right? That's what we want. So we're looking for single digits for Sauce Gardner. Right now he's wearing number 20. And then you got Jermaine Johnson, who's number 52. Who's been 52 for a large stretch? We've had a couple guys, but the one that really sticks out is David Harris. Former second-round pick, was on all our good teams and stuff, and he was a really good player for us until he got A little bit fat, a little bit slow, right? Okay. Then he went to New England, as so many Jets do. So David Harris wore that number 52 proudly, and it was a good number 52. On Jermaine Johnson, we don't like it. Now, why don't we like it? Well, because he's a defensive end, and we like 90s, 92, 91, 99, right? Well, it just so happens those numbers are taken already, at least now, by vets. So maybe he keeps 52. It's a good number. We don't like it, though. We don't. Overall, I think there was a little bit more acceptance for 52 than 20, and it gets worse. It gets worse. There was a little bit more acceptance for 52 than maybe some of the others, but still, I think, by and large, Jets fans are hoping that he gets a number 90. Now, I'm in that bunch. I wouldn't care if he had 52. I wouldn't. But defensive linemen, you just want to see in the 90s. You do. Maybe here and there a 70s. If it's an interior offense or defensive lineman, you can see a 70, 75, 72, something like that. So we're a little bit bent out of shape about Jermaine Johnson's number 2. Now, when you got Garrett Wilson, who we do think of as a single-digit number. Why? Because he played with that in college, number 5. But 17 is a fantastic wide receiver number. Not all that long. Remember 1996, Keyshawn had number 19. He was the first wide receiver we had with a single digit. All of our receivers were 80s. All of them. So that was like so cool. Now the teens aren't cool enough for us. We want singles. We want number 3, number 5. That's what we want. But 17, that's one that I could see sticking. I could see 17 sticking because it's a good number. It's a good number for him. That's one of the ones. So even a little bit more than Jermaine Johnson keeping 52. I think 17 could stick. Now, Michael Clemons has number 72. Now, the guy who sticks out to me with number 72 is Jason Ferguson. It's a long time ago. I know. Ferguson was a very good player for us. I think he was a 7th-round pick in the Bill Parcells era, and he was a stud. That guy was good. And number 72. I know there are guys that wear 72 since then. For some reason, I can't get it. It's Jason Ferguson to me. So that would be a good number. Now, for an end, again, you want to see 90s. Now, Michael Clemens is the kind of guy I'd like to see him wear 99. Even more so than Jermaine Johnson. Why? Why is that? I don't know. I think, look, we're putting a lot of belief behind Jermaine Johnson. We're putting a lot into this guy. He's our 1st-round pick. He's the highest drafted edge rusher for us in a long time. But for some reason, this Michael Clemens guy, he feels like a 99 more. Isn't that interesting? Now, he could keep 72. The truth is, I don't think he will. I think once the cuts start and all that stuff, I think you're going to see Michael Clemens get a number in the 90s, specifically, again, for defensive ends. The interior guys, 70s are good. The outside, I don't know. It just feels right. It feels right. Now, if he kept 72, would I be bent out of shape? No. It's still a defensive line number. You know, go offensive line, defensive line, you know. So it'd be good. But again, I think we're more than likely going to see it change. More than likely. Now, Max Mitchell, the 4th-round offensive tackle, he's wearing number 61. I haven't heard a single person complain about that one. Everybody's like, okay, 61. Good enough. Now, I think it has to do with the fact that he's more than likely not a starter initially for us. So he's a backup guy. So we think a little bit less. Okay, he's backup, whatever. And then there's the idea that the 60s are an offensive line. But why not 67? Why not a better one? Nobody seems to care. 61, give it to him, keep it forever. Nobody seems to mind Mr. Max Mitchell. We're all good with that. Here's the big one that's got everybody flustered. And that is Breece Hall wearing number 35. I have not seen a meltdown like that about a number. I can't remember the last time. This guy, he's a running back. Running backs are 30s. Has there ever been a successful 35? Yeah. The one that comes to mind for me is Christian Okoye. There've been a few, but it's definitely not one of the more prominent running back numbers. It seems like the number that the other guy gets, right? So I get it. Let me present an argument to you. And I saw this on Twitter. I tried to present it. People yelled at me, and this is the way it is. Let's try this argument on for size. Breece Hall is more than likely going to be our best running back. Now, that's not to say anything about Michael Carter. I love him. I love everything about that guy. I really do, including his talent. But Breece Hall is a different thing. He just is. He's the highest drafted running back for the New York Jets since 2001. That is 21 years we have not used a more premium pick on a running back than Breece Hall. And I keep saying Breece Hall, but I'm wrong. It's Breece Hall, man. And that's one of the reasons I wanted him here, for that exact thing. I want to see how many times I still can't get Quincy Wilson and Williams right. So Breece and Bryce are going to throw me for a loop. It's Breece Hall. Okay, Breece Hall. We have not used a more premium pick on a running back than Breece Hall since 2001. That was Lamont Jordan's second-round pick, and before that, it was Blair Thomas. So we haven't exactly used our premium capital for positions like running back. Now, Breece Hall is arguably, but widely considered, the best running back in this class. 6'1", 220 pounds, had 56 touchdowns in college, broke a record for the most consecutive games with at least one touchdown in college. He's also a good receiving back, had almost 400 yards receiving last year and a few more touchdowns. He's also a good pass protector. The guy's got everything you want in a running back, so he's going to be the guy. Wouldn't it be interesting if he ended up being like the best in the league, let's say, like the league's best running back, gets 1,844 yards and 21 touchdowns, another 500 receiving. Like, what if he did something like that? And he's wearing the number 35. Couldn't it be interesting for him to carve out a path all his own with a number that really nobody's carved that path for? Couldn't that be cool? No? It's like, no. I want him to slide in the box that I have laid out for him. That's like where we are. 32? 22? 24? Right? That's the numbers we want for him. Now, I get it. I do. I don't see him as a 35 either. At the same time, I think it could be interesting. And I think we should reconsider. Like, let go of the brick wall, and just go, what if in 10 years, this is our feature back for a decade, and he's got 10 straight years with 1,000 yards or more, 400 or 500 receiving, a couple rushing titles, maybe even an MVP, some stuff like that, and he's 35. He'd be the only 35 out there with that kind of career. Huh? Wouldn't that be the thing? There is no other 35. He owns it. He owns it. It's him. Think about it, everybody. So anyway, I watched Twitter and Jetnation. Man, people are upset. But I want to just remind you, guys, this is literally temporary. And it's not like it could be temporary. It is temporary. They have 90 guys on the. They have to, so they're using 90 numbers. Like most of 40, almost 40 of those guys are going away. All sorts of numbers pop up. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So I think it's important to mention every single year we fall in love with a guy who comes out of nowhere. Greg Dortch. You know what I mean? There's always a guy. There's always a guy. Even Vincent Smith a couple of years ago. There's always a guy that we fall in love with who came from nowhere. And right now, that guy is Irv Charles, a 6'4", 220-pound wide receiver out of IUP. Now, the interesting thing is that he was going to go to Penn State. He had some academic stuff. It didn't happen. A lot of details in there. But he's an undrafted free agent. He comes on the scene, and he's lighting everybody up in camp. And I am already seeing Jets fans. I am seeing it. This is the hidden gem. This is the guy. Remember Lawrence Cager a couple years ago? Now, Ooh. Now Lawrence Cager's back. He's in a different position. You know, he's doing all sorts of stuff trying to work this out. But let's not forget, Lawrence Cager was 6'5". He only had 19 receptions, 17 were touchdowns. A lot of weirdness there. But people say, you know what? This is the gem. This is the guy. It's not working out. Maybe he cuts a place out as a tight end. I doubt it. You know what I mean? His problem is injury, right? So we always have this guy. Right now it's Irv Charles. And he had 39 receptions for 700 yards and 12 touchdowns in college. Hey, I'm rooting for him. I'm with it. It would be nice to see maybe an Irv Charles push the Vincent Smiths and Jeff Smiths and Tariq Blacks off the team. Now, I know a lot of you like Tariq Black. Tariq Black was a guy who did a lot of the same thing, right? A lot of guys like, ooh, Tariq Black, that's my hidden gem. And it's good to do this, but it's good to keep these guys in order. And we'll talk about him as it happens. Who's the darling in camp? I like to call it our love affair, our yearly love affair. Right now it's Irv Charles. Good luck, Mr. Charles. We're rooting for you, buddy. Clearly. 6'4", though. 6'4", 220 if you can stay healthy. Hey, it happened not too long ago with a guy named Robbie Anderson, undrafted free agent. He's a legit NFL wide receiver now, making, $12 million a year. So you never know, buddy. Let's see how it goes. We'll keep the Irv Charles watch going all throughout the offseason. How's that sound? In training camp. So, like I mentioned before, there were the interviews, right? So the rookies show up at camp, they get their numbers, so we see them at the podium, and we get to hear their thoughts. Who are these people? And we also saw Bryce Hall. That's going to be a toughie. We also saw Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall, and all the guys were talking, Garrett Wilson, but the one that stuck out, you hear that? The one that stuck out to me was Michael Clemens. And it looks like it's sticking out to a lot of people. 40% of Jets videos right now are Michael Clemens. Michael Clemens. Where'd this guy come from? I will say when he was drafted, there were still guys on the board that we knew and we were hoping we'd get. Namely, linebackers like Brandon Smith were still up there. Plenty of safeties were still up there. And I think when we heard the name Michael Clemens, I think a lot of us were disappointed. Let's be real, okay? Very few people did any real research on Michael Clemens. Now, Michael Clemens was about 25 on my list, and I'm going to be honest with you. I watched one highlight video of Michael Clemens. Said he's a bull rusher. That's it. I didn't put any real time in. It's okay. So it's not that I was disappointed. I was just a little bit taken aback. I think I wanted Brandon Smith, or I wanted to say, okay, fine. 4th round safety, some of these guys we thought were high thirds, they're still there. Great. Come out of here with a 3rd round grade. Fantastic. I think it was great. Linebacker and safety or another offensive lineman. Even though we took Max Mitchell, I was kind of satiated, but I would have been fine with like an interior guy, a center. Donovan West, and these guys made it to undrafted free agents, but I didn't know that at the time. I don't know if disappointed is the word, but a little bit taken back. And then we look, and it's like, okay, well, this is the first time the Jets took 2 defensive ends in a draft. You want to know how long it's been? 22 years. The last time we took 2 defensive ends. Now, we've taken defensive tackle and an end or an outside linebacker. We've done some variations. The last time we took 2 defensive ends in the same class was 2000, Sean Ellis and John Abraham, 12th and 13th respectively. They happen to both be in the 1st round, obviously. This is a little bit different than that, but you can't really gripe about another defensive end. We even toyed with the idea. What would be the benefit if, well, imagine the Jets took Kayvon Thibodeau at 4 and Jermaine Johnson at 10 or Karlaftis at 10. Or Ebiketie at 35. We toyed with this stuff. We go through all these scenarios. We played with it. So I think the idea of wrapping up the draft with a defensive end that you might have had rated a little bit higher, it's not the worst idea in the world. So I definitely wasn't upset about it. But I totally didn't think I'd feel this way about this guy. Let me tell you, and nor did most of the Jets fans. Number one, he shows up to his presser with a bull ring in his nose. Okay, not a big one, but you know what I mean. That's intimidating. It's a little bit meaner than maybe a little nose ring over here, right? Little jewel, little earring. It's different. It's just different. It's a different thing. Now, they ask him a bunch of questions, and we'll spend some time on this one because it's interesting. And I'm going to talk to you guys about this a little bit. Number one, they asked him about what it was like to put the colors on. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but every single one of our draft picks have red as the base of their uniform. Now, there's a little bit different crimson, a little magenta action, a little light red, dark red, all that kind of stuff, but it's red nonetheless. Every single player that we drafted has a reddish uniform. So none of them came from green. They come on over and they get to put on a color that they've never worn, at least in college, right? That they were not wearing in college. They put on the green. They ask him, he says, hey, we got to put on the colors today. And they said, how's it feel?
How did it feel to put on that green for the first time?
Felt good.
Huh? He tried to feel good. I imagine it would feel good for me too, man. So he comes in, he puts on the colors, and just look at the answer. You got to love it. Now, the first of the stupid questions starts right now. Now, let's get into our favorite guy, Dick Chimney. Okay, we go ahead and we listen to these questions, and he says, hey, did you think that you could go higher? Did you think you were a 4th round pick? Do you think you could have been a 1st round pick? And you have to rephrase the question. Now, these guys don't know Michael Clemens yet, nor do we, but you figure out during this interview, Michael Clemens is not one that feels like he needs to answer right away. He's going to think about it. He's going to make sure that he has organized his thoughts before he speaks. I got to say, number one, that's a fantastic trait for somebody that's in this type of position. It's fantastic. Number two, it's also really cool to see or hear our beat squirm. They don't know what that is. They don't know what it's like to have somebody thinking, and before they answer. They're trying to do gotcha. That's what they're doing. So they're trying to get Michael Clemens to say something about himself. Oh, this is the guy who thinks he's better than, they're doing something with this one. And Dick Chimney's the guy that does this the most. There are others, but this is the guy. So he says that question, trying to get some sort of clicky comment from him, and he goes, So he has to rephrase. I guess what I'm saying is this. Now, Michael Clemens knew what you were saying. He knew. He was just thinking. But that pause made Dick Chimney rephrase his question because he's getting flustered.
Had you not been injured and you didn't have the extended stay in college, do you think you had the ability to go much higher in the draft just based off your stats and the way you were able to produce last year? Do you think you would have been a much higher pick? I guess what I'm asking is, do you think you have first round ability?
Whether I go 1st round or 4th round, I believe in my ability as a football player. It's not up to me to make those decisions, and neither do I want it to be.
Now, if you remember correctly, that is almost the exact same answer that Bryce Hall gave last year when they were asking him about which positions he thought the Jets needed to address in the offseason. And why would they ask him that? Well, because they want him to say maybe edge rusher. Bryce Hall doesn't believe in the edge rushers on the team. Maybe cornerback. Oh, his position group. He doesn't even think they're good enough. That's what they're doing. We've seen it enough. We know. Bryce Hall said almost the same answer. That has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. It's not what I'm here for. Ask somebody else that question. So then they go ahead. I think this is an okay question, but it's more about his answer. And I want you to really pay attention to the pause here. They try to ask him whether or not the fact that the Jets, just an underhanded dig, right? I don't know what this is. Letting them know, hey, you're coming into a place that sucks. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm sensitive. I don't know. Maybe I am a little sensitive. I don't know. But they say to him, this is an organization that hasn't really had much of an edge presence over the last few years. Does that motivate you? Are you motivated by that? Now check out this pause.
I plan on making an impact, no matter what the history was, whether they didn't have an end that made an impact or they did.
And then the answer is just perfect. What do I care? I plan on making an impact. No matter who was here 20 years ago or 8 years, what do I care? That's how it is, you know what I mean? Yeah. The fact that 5 years ago, when I was a senior in high school, the fact that the Jets didn't have an edge rusher then motivates me to want to play. Yeah, that's my motivation. Fine, what's my motivation? The Jets haven't had an edge rusher in 10 years. Good. Yes, I'll use that. He says, my plan on having an impact, no matter if they had one, well, they didn't have one that made an impact. I think it's fantastic. The pause is special. So a funny part of it, and this shows he's not just a mean, grumpy, stoic guy. He's actually very funny. And they asked him about what his favorite pass rusher move was. Now, look at his answer here. It's my favorite answer of the entire interview. You couldn't want a better batch of words to come out of your draft pick defensive end.
I can't give you my whole book, but I definitely like power move, for sure. You make a guy quickly respect you when you hit him in the mouth over and over again. You're going to be thinking about that all day.
Now, the funniest thing is this is the last question that we'll get into. There's a bunch, obviously. We're going to get into this one. It's Dick Chimney again, and he says, he's just the stupidest question. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've seen so many conversations trying to figure out why is Cimini asking this question? Is it just a dumb question? And I'm going to tell you, no, it's not a dumb question. It is a dumb question, but it's not a dumb question. You see the difference? Do you see it? Okay, and I'll explain. So he asks him, have you ever been thought of as an offensive lineman? Has anybody ever tried to get you to play tackle? And he laughs at Cimini. That's not laughing with him. I want you to know that. And the rest of the laughter around there, that's everybody laughing. So Cimini has to rephrase it again. This is the second time. He's rephrasing his question, digging a hole, sounding even more stupid. Because let me let you guys in on something. Most of our beat writers don't know football. They don't. They really don't. They have a surface level understanding. That's it. So when you don't fall for the trap, they flounder. We see it all the time. So he laughs in Cimini's face. And then he rephrases his question. And watch this. Michael Clemens gets in the position of an offensive tackle. He says, is this what you mean? This is the length? This is what you're talking about?
When you push to the offensive line with your body type, you look like a guy that coaches along the way. Can you play offensive tackle? Was that something that you had to fight along the way where people wanted you to play offensive tackle?
No. No, no one's ever asked me to play offensive tackle.
Because you really, you have that length that you talked about.
Now, let me tell you the true motivation for that question. Now, it's stupid. I want you to know that. But this is an attempt to insinuate that the Jets are loading up at tackle. We brought in Max Mitchell. We brought in Michael Clemens, who has also been thought of as a tackle in a pinch. He's trying to reinforce his story, his narrative that he started last year and has not relented in the face of numerous facts that have been presented to the contrary. That Mekhi Becton is fat, overweight, lazy, and is not long for the team. Remember Icky at 4? That was him and Hughes said that. He's trying this narrative, and he's trying to set up pieces, little tiers that he can set up the story that the Jets are still working on moving Mekhi Becton. Now, to be clear, nobody knows what the hell is going on. I'm just saying, so far, every time one of these stories has come out, there has been something presented that nullifies the story. And that's what's going on here. Now, you might think, oh, come on, you're reaching. Yeah, I'm just paying attention, man. Why is he trying to say that Michael Clements, why are you comparing Michael Clements to a tackle specifically? Why? Michael Clements gets in at 3 points. He goes, is this like this? Is this what you mean? This is what I look like this? Like, what is it? After laughing at him, he was prepped, just like Bryce Hall was prepped, just like Sauce was prepped, just like all of them were prepped. These guys are sharks, and they're trying to get you. Here's how you answer the questions. Here's what to look for. And our team knows, because our organization is not stupid. They've given them nothing in 3 years. They've gotten just about nothing right. The only time they get anything right is when they say they give you multiple choice. They go, they can do this, 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 or this. Then they get one right. If they say, this is what I'm hearing, it's wrong every time, because they're not hearing anything. So this is the just attempt at continuation of the narrative. That's all it is, guys. That's all it is. I'm very smart. And that's what we got going on out there. And that is the news of the week. So, while Jets fans are largely happy with the draft, we got Sauce Gardner, we got Garrett Wilson, we got Jermaine Johnson, we got the best running back, we got a fourth-round tackle, which is just so good to see that we're back to fourth-round tackles. And then we slam it home with another defensive end to reinforce this, we need an edge rusher presence. Everybody's happy. The Jets got 4 top 36 picks. Most of the NFL world is excited about what the Jets have done. Even the guys that were kind of anti-Jets, thinking we're stupid, said, holy macaroni, they crushed this draft. Jets did a good job, but there are still those guys out there. Now, for the most part, they're just trying to get clicks, and we know that, but we're unable to just ignore it. We're unable. Can't do it. It comes down your Twitter feed, and you go, no, and you yell at it and all this stuff. But let me just explain to you why it's completely ridiculous. And for that, let's get into the intelligent gripe. So what is the main story? What's the main gripe by these guys out there that say the Jets are fools? What is it? What are we hearing? Well, we're hearing the Jets, who already had 2 top 10 picks, still couldn't get it down, couldn't wait, couldn't be patient, and they had to trade up again. That shows how desperate they are. It shows how little they know about positional and draft value and blah, 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 blah. I even saw somebody say they should have taken Malik Willis. Yeah. So let me explore this statement with you. So what they're saying is that the Jets, who used 2 fifth-round picks to trade up in the draft to get premium guys, it was a fool's errand. You should have kept your 5th-round picks. Now look, anybody who's been around me for more than 20 minutes knows I love me some 5th, 6th, 7th-round picks. I love it. I even love the undrafted free agents. I love it. That's the part of the draft I find the most fun. I mean, look, it's exciting up top. You get these premium guys. Holy cow, we got 2 top 10s. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But it's the 4th, 5th, 6th round. I love that stuff. I love to be able to identify gems that are sliding down the board for whatever reason. I love it. So giving 2 5th-round picks away isn't exactly something I love to do. It's just in complete transparency here. But when you're looking at what we were able to accomplish for 2 5th-round picks, it's absolutely absurd that there's even an issue with it. Now, the first trade is we have a top 10 edge rusher, a guy that we had, if Garrett Wilson wasn't on the board, if Atlanta would have taken Garrett Wilson, would have been our pick at 10. It's been said by Douglas and Saleh. Garrett Wilson was the one receiver that we wanted. If Garrett Wilson wasn't there, we were taking Jermaine Johnson at 10. So a guy that we had at 10 and was probably in the conversation at 4 is sitting there at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We can get that guy 16 spots later which is the draft value equivalent of 600 points, which is the draft value equivalent of pick number 31. That's how vast the gap is between when he was supposed to be taken and where he's sitting. You're telling me you can get that value by flip-flopping thirds and throwing a 5th round pick as 163, which has a value of, let's see right here, 24.6 points. So you can give them 24.6 points, flip-flop thirds, so you don't even lose the 3rd round pick, and you can get a top 10 player. That somehow has the nerds up in a tizzy. How? If you're analytics guys, look at the numbers. There is no way to complain about that. Okay, great. We'll give you that one. You got a top 10 edge rusher in the first. Get the 5th round, the 5th-year option for the 5th. Okay, we'll give you that one. But this Breece Hall, you should never have traded up for a running back. You shouldn't even have taken one in the 2nd round in the first place. What's the matter with you? You're the Jets. You need 50 picks. You need to accumulate bodies. You're the worst. First of all, let's say this. They haven't been paying attention to what we've been doing here the last 2 years, because that's what we've been doing. Getting rid of one player for numerous players. Leo Williams for 2 players. Sam Darnold for 3 players. Jamal Adams for 3 players. You're not paying attention. Avery Williamson for a round higher. Chris Herndon, 2 rounds higher. Steve McClendon, another pick. That's what we've been doing. We still had a full draft class, 7 picks. It just so happens all of them were in the top 4 rounds. And not just any 4th rounders, the front end of the 4th round. The Jets had 2 of the top 9 picks in the 4th round. So think about that. After the 9th pick in the 4th round, the Jets had already picked 7 players. 7. All a full draft. Joe Douglas figured out how to compress an entire draft. No 5ths, no 6ths, no 7ths, where everybody's just taking flyers on guys. I don't know, I just take that guy. He's got a good RAS score. That's what they're doing down there. I don't know. He took all of that draft class and compressed it into the top 4 rounds, most of which was in the top 2. Okay, so first of all, there's that. We don't need more bodies later. We got them. They just happen to be at the front end of the draft class. Number 2, when you're talking about the position, right? So that's really the gripe. It's the running back. It's the running back. You don't trade for a running back. You don't do it in today's NFL. Everybody knows. Well, we should have talked about the Colts 2 years ago. This is the one example. There are others. We're going to use one example to prove that you're just being a biatch. Because this does happen. You do trade for running backs when it's warranted. The Colts 2 years ago in the 2020 draft were sitting at pick 44, 2nd round. They didn't want to wait till 44, even though they were already, the draft is at pick 41. Just hang out. 3 picks. What's the big deal? They made a call to the Cleveland Browns and decided to offer them pick 160 and 44. Very, very similar value to our trade. It's almost, it's the same kind of thing. 3 spots. We did 2 spots. Same round, little bit later, right? It's the same basic thing. They jumped up, they gave up their 5th round pick for a guy named Jonathan Taylor. Have you ever heard of him? No? Yeah, I know, he's a loser, really. It's a big deal. It's a running back in the 2nd round. They trade up for Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor happens to be 5'10", 227-pound running back. Breece Hall's a 6'1", 220-pound running back. So they're close-ish. Not really. A little bit close, right? So let me just give you the impact that running back has had for the Colts. In 2020, he had 1,169 yards on the ground with 11 touchdowns. Okay, pretty good. We haven't seen that around here in a minute. So if we got 1,169 yards and 11 touchdowns, that'd be good enough for a 5th-round pick. Okay, just right there. But on top of that, he added 36 receptions for 299 yards and another touchdown. So now he has 12 touchdowns, 400 yards receiving, almost 1,200 yards on the ground. That's 2020. That's a rookie. Last year, this is what Jonathan Taylor has going on for the Colts. 1,811 yards on the ground. 1,811 yards. I didn't look, but I feel confident in saying we've never gotten 1,811 yards on the ground. I'm pretty sure. By any running back. Curtis had 1,600 and change. 1,811 yards on the ground with 18 touchdowns. 18 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he also caught 40 passes for 360 yards and 2 more touchdowns. That's a grand total. Grand total of his impact on the 2021 Colts was 2,071 yards, 20 touchdowns. One man. 5th-round pick. Now, we don't know if Breece Hall is going to be that. We have no idea. Breece Hall could be the biggest bust of all time. That is impossible to comment on. Impossible. If you look at his numbers in college, 1,472 yards last year, 1,572 the year before, a total of 56 touchdowns in his 3 years, 46 the last 2 years, 23 last year alone, man. Another 400 in the air. Very similar impact on his offense as Jonathan Taylor. Do you think if this little nerd boy went over to the Colts and said, my analytics said, you shouldn't have done that. The value wasn't there. You don't trade up for 2nd-round running backs. How do you think the GM, Ballard, would answer that fella? Something to the effect of, go home. Go home, please. Because here's the thing that analytics people forget. The NFL has been overrun with analytics. Now, I happen to like it. I'm not very good at it. Numbers thing, you know, it's not really my gig. I can't really do it. Okay, I can read it and make up, but that's not my gig. But I like it. But here's the thing: we've been overrun with these guys that get so caught up in the numbers of it all, analytical numbers, not even actual numbers, and they forget that there's a key component that they just don't include, and that is that there's actually a game of football going on. You got to play a game of football that is packed full of animals, snarling beasts that would kill you on the field if they could. That's the piece that they don't know. They don't include. They don't even remember to factor it in. Jets fans should be ecstatic that our general manager had the gumption to throw all that crap to the side, give away his 5th-round pick, because he got the best damn running back that we've had here probably since Curtis Martin. And that includes some of my faves like Chris Ivory, LaDainian Tomlinson for his period on the Jets, okay? Thomas Jones, Sean Green, Forte, right? All these guys. Bilal Powell. Love Bilal Powell. We should be excited, happy, and pumped that we went up, threw all that crap to the wind, and said, that's the guy we want. He's going to have 1,500 yards on the ground this year for our offense, in addition to Michael Carter's 1,000 yards, whatever it might be. That's what they're thinking. They got the tight ends. They got the wide receivers. You know what we need? We need a running back. We need a running back now. I want the best running back I can possibly get. 5th-round pick be damned. And that is the intelligent gripe. So it's an interesting time to be a Jets fan. Lots of us feel pretty good. I mean, look, Breece Hall has number 35. You can't get past it. The Jets traded a 5th-round pick to get the best running back in the league. Oh, you can't take. I don't like it. Okay. Factor it into where we were 3 years ago. Okay? Just put it on the scale. Number 35 for the running back. And our head coach left the draft room because he hated our GM and his picks so much. He didn't even show up. Didn't call one candidate, one prospect, one draft pick. Where do they balance? What's worse? That's where we're coming from. If the big gripe this week is that we don't like the number that our fantastic best running back in the class that would have been a top 10 pick 10 years ago wears, we're doing pretty good. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you're having a great week, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you one of those that feels real bad about 35? Let's talk it out. I told you I was a therapist. We'll get through it. We'll get past this one. Have a great day, everybody. And as always, go Jets.
You need that nasty, that tough, physical. That's what you think when you think defensive lineman. Just make sure to turn that thing off when you walk on the field.